Good morning. Today we're going to cover off 4 things you need to do when you're choosing a business name. It's quite an important topic when you're starting out because I've seen so many of these businesses, including my own, where you've created a business name that you think you kind of is catchy, but there's a lot of downfalls in a lot of the business names with regards to how people find they can spell it, or how it's interpreted in other languages, or there's various other kind of constraints that you have when you need to choose your ideal business name. And also it needs to be kind of catchy and short and memorable, of course, for your audience and relate to your audience as well. So we're going to cover off 4 things that you need to do when choosing a business name. And I'm going to show you a really cool tool today where you can check the availability of your business domain names and also whether it's free on social media all in one go. So it saves heaps and heaps of time. So we'll go through that as well. So let's get started on choosing your business name. So the first kind of areas we're going to cover, the topics we're going to cover today is what to consider when you're choosing a business name. You need to make it easy to remember. We need to check, obviously, the business name availability, not just on social media and domain names, but also under business registers as well. Very important that we're not breaching anyone's trademarks. And also we need to check if we do actually need to register the business name as well. And that depends on whereabouts you are in the world also, and the different ways that you can do that. So I will go through that with you today as well. So the first thing of considering what you need to consider when choosing a business name is you need to choose the right name that will help you create the image that you want to create for your business. It's also really helpful in distinguishing you from the competition. So, for example, for the skinny startup No Geeks Allowed, I wanted to cover off startups that had limited budget, hence the skinny, and No Geeks Allowed, because we were going to help you, and we are still helping you with all the tech tools and making automation a lot easier and training you in how and what tools to use so you don't get the overwhelm. So that was where the skinny startup came from. So basically, the things you need to kind of consider for number one when you're considering to choose your business name is how your business differs from your competition. What image do you want to communicate with your customers? Is there any business name already similar to your name? There's a really great book. I can't remember the author, but it's called The 21 Immutable Laws of Marketing. It's a very old book, actually, but it is quite phenomenal how it still relates to today's world. And it was talking around the fact that, you could have, for example, we are tilers, for example, if you're a tiling company, or tilers we are. If you were going to choose, one option nearer your competition, then it can become really confusing for your particular target market and your client, and they can actually forget the name. There's a good example for me is I always forget. I use house sitters when I go away for my pets, and it's called Mind a Home. But there's so many out there that are Find a Home, Mind a Home, and I always kind of forget the name. So I'm quite surprised I remembered it today so quickly. But it always takes me a while to kind of dial it back in again. And I think it's good to have something that is completely different, but memorable. So that's a really important consideration for your audience. You need to obviously make sure that it's not trademarked in any way. And also if the name is already registered as a domain name, which I'll be showing you shortly, Also, you need to consider whether the name could be misunderstood, especially in other languages in other countries, and also whether the name could offend anyone. So they're the important considerations for point one. So number two is you need to make your name easy to remember. So for example, a great example here is like the webinar slash virtual meeting service called Zoom. They've really overtaken market share because it's just been really snappy and really quick, and they've overtaken a lot of the other companies like GoToWebinar, GoToMeeting, and names that I don't even remember now, because Zoom has become part of the language, the same as Google overtook from Yahoo, I think it was at the time, and Yelp and all those other old search engines, because Google became part of the language, people's language. So if you can have a company name that you think people will start to bring it in as part of their language, then that's an amazing achievement to have. Short and simple, and easy to pronounce and easy to spell, because if you're going to go for a domain name, people don't want to be typing out great big long names, like zoom.com is so much easier than, GoToMeeting.com, for example. So yeah, just a couple of examples there. So it's descriptive. Again, I'm going to keep going back to Zoom because it's a Zoom lens, and it's related to video and camera and things like that. So I think that's kind of a clever name there. And different, so it doesn't confuse your competitors, as we were talking earlier about. Obviously, Jim's Tiling or Tiling by Jim, or whatever it might be, could cause confusion if you've got similar names to your competition. And if you use your personal name, that's fine. There's a lot of pros with using your own personal name. The only downside of that is it's not really that googlyable, is that a word? Because you're not known yet. So it's going to take you a long time to get to be known, a bit like, the Tony Robbins and people like that out there. They've taken a few years to obviously build up their name and their reputation, and now they're known. But it's not something that people are Googling, whereas opposed to, Tyler's, they're probably Googling, so that's a good example of using your business name as opposed to your descriptive name of how you service your customers. Now, number three, you need to check your business name availability. Now, this is where I've got an amazing tool that I use and recommend. I always use the /en in it, because namecheck.com is by default in German. So I normally use the en. So let's just see if we can load that for you now and just check. Okay, so what we want to do here is we want to check if our business name is free. So say, for instance, we're going to go Goom. Okay, so let's check for Goom. I don't even know what that means. I'm just making it up as we go along here. But it takes a little while to load. But you can see here that it's got Goom is actually already taken in the .com world. Sorry, I'm looking over at my screen here. So, and so is basically, hopefully you can see this. Let me just check StreamYard is, yep, you can see this. Okay, so you can see that .co.uk is taken, so .net's taken. So basically this would not be a good name for you to check. So trying to think of another name. No, I'm just going to put end broadcast, because that's the first. I mean, we can actually do a .com, but we can just do a check. It's because I've just seen end broadcast up on here on my right hand screen. So let's load this and see if this is actually taken. So this is actually available. So there we go. Anyone who wants to do any broadcasting, endbroadcast.com is available. So is .co.uk, so is .org. And the big question here as well is, when you're choosing a business name, should you make it country specific? So if you're going to be a global company or out of the States, then .com by far is the best. Don't use something that's .com is taken and then you try and use a .net, because that just causes complete confusion for your audience. So always make sure that you can get the .com, or don't go down that track at all. If you are from the US or you're going to be a global company. Now, if you are going to be a specific country-based company or business, then use that company-specific URL. For example, if you're out of Australia, it's best for you to use .com.au. And if you're coming out of the UK, for example, then it's .co.uk. Now, the reason you do that if you're a locally based business in that country is because people have that more of that trust factor, that you're not this big global company and it's going to cost them, loads in shipping, or take ages to arrive, and things like all these sorts of things that might stop your customer actually clicking on you, or they may think you're just out of the States. For example, if you're a .com and you providing services in the UK, for example. So that's a good reason why you should have a specific country URL if you are working out of that country. If you plan to be global, then always try to go .com, but also reserve .com.au, .co.uk, all the main, like URLs where you expect to expand into. Now, again, what I love about this is you can go down here, and not only can you see if the domains are free, you can also see whether Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, all those are taken too. And you'll see that they actually are already taken, and Facebook has taken end broadcast. So we can't use end broadcast because, well, you could, but you would have to change the name slightly, which I wouldn't recommend. So that would cause confusion again. So ideally, this takes so much time, because the amount of time that I took from when I checked my domain was free, and then I went to the different social medias and I found they weren't free, and it was really frustrating because I'd have to adapt them. Whereas if you can have an at the skinny startup .com, and then you've got at the skinny startup for your social media, then that is your perfect scenario for your business. So I just wanted to show you that tool because it is absolutely a time saver. So remember that one, it's namecheck.com and then /en. So that's checking your business name availability. But also you need to remember as well that also you need to check whether it's, just realizing that it's gone a bit strange with the full screen. There we go. So it's also vital that you make sure that you're not breaching any trademarks. So you can just Google for your specific country the name that you're proposing after you've done your namecheck.com, and just put trademark search or something like that. Or ideally, we did do an interview a few weeks back with our US lawyer, Kelly Jones. So if you can Google her, she's got lots of information on her own website. She's the lawyer for entrepreneurs, and she has fixed rates. So she answered some amazing gold nugget questions. So I would highly recommend, I'll put the link back in to this live as well, So it takes you straight to that interview. But if you are looking at starting out and you need some help in the US with regards to legalities, then I would highly recommend you have a look at that interview, or just go out to Kelly Jones's own website there and find out more information there. And I will put some links, extra links into this once the live is finished. For the Australian market, you can go to just Google business, like the Australian business. I think it's under the ABN search. So if you Google ABN search, then you'll be able to have a look there. But there's also a few links that I will give you as well. One of them is actually business.gov.au for the Australian market. So nice and easy one to remember there. So have a look at those two. You can, in that business.gov.au, there's also searches for domain names in there, but it doesn't do your social media. And they also have trademark searches within there as well. So lots of good information there. And so basically that's all you really need to look at for your business name. Now, there's obviously lots of other things that you need to decide prior to that. So you need to understand your business structure. Again, this is where a lawyer or an accountant, even in Australia, could help you. And you would need to look at whether you want to have an EIN for the US, or if you need to register your business with ASIC in Australia. So I do have a cheat sheet, 8 steps to launch, which I will also put the link in this live. And it gives you a step-by-step guide of, basically tells you about name check, but it tells you the things you need to do before, and it tells you how to do the things after those steps as well. So I'm going to go through the next few weeks going through these checklists. And if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments and I can answer them for you. And I think that's pretty much about it. I guess the lessons learned for me personally when I started the Skinny Startup and other businesses was really about does it roll off the tongue? Like my first business that I started was called Pet Stay Advisor. And people just kept getting really confused with the name. So it wasn't really ideal. And it was just really about doing market research beforehand, before launching the business. So that was a big thing for me. And also making sure that it was available in all your domains, domain.com, domain.co.uk, .com.au, and your social media as well. So those were the lessons learned for me when I started up with my businesses. So again, great to be here live. I feel like I'm going to move these lives actually to a Tuesday Australian, which is going to be a Monday US, because our audience is bigger in the US. And so I would want to kind of be more in line with the US business days. So I'm going to be moving my lives to Tuesday and update the schedule. But again, yes, if you've got any questions with regards to business names or anything related to that, then please feel free to hit me up in the comments. Also, feel free to, at any time, drop me an email, sharon@theskinnystartup.com. So have a wonderful Monday or rest of your Sunday, folks around the world. And take care for now, and I'll speak to you again next week. All right, see you soon. Bye.